Revealed. The former Israeli spies working in top jobs at Google, Facebook, and Microsoft. Oh, man. I already knew we had to deal with a bunch of so called former FBI agents and CIA officers, but the Israelis too, huh?
Yeah, that's right. A lot of my work in the past year or so has been focused on exposing the links between the US national security state and big tech companies like Facebook, Google, and Twitter. But in doing a little bit more research in this, it shows that it's not only just the alphabet soup of three-letter agencies around Washington, D.C., like the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, who have got all sorts of workers or former staff planted into these social media companies, but it's also allies like Israel as well. And so what I found in a very sort of unscientific way of just going on employment databases was that there are literally hundreds of former Israeli spies, intelligence officers from this notorious Unit 8200, that now have influential and important jobs in some of the biggest tech companies in America.
It's funny because, like if you just got here from government school where they teach you about the democracy and this and that, you might think that something like that would be illegal or that it would be so scandalous that they wouldn't try that. You can't just have foreign intelligence agencies running all your social media organizations or even never even mind the Israelis, but even having a bunch of FBI agents leaving the FBI and go to work at Twitter. Doesn't that scream massive conflict of interest to everyone? It's crazy. And yet this is exactly how it works, huh?
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, nowadays it's very hard to determine where Silicon Valley ends and where the national security state begins. And this is just one example of this. I mean, as I said, there are hundreds and hundreds of former FBI officials working at these top jobs, but now increasingly Unit 8200 is also involved. And the reason they're so controversial is that, this is the biggest unit in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. And they've really made headlines on a world stage, partially because they've basically set up a sort of Israeli NSA. Unit 8200 is kind of the centerpiece of the Israeli tech industry. It's where everybody gets taught and they go out and start their own companies. But many of these companies have been malware and spyware companies, like, for instance, NSO, which created the controversial, infamous piece of software Pegasus, which was used to spy on tens of thousands of politicians and human rights workers all around the world, and was almost certainly used by the Saudi government to track down the whereabouts of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi right before he was murdered. And so really this company is right at the forefront, at the cutting edge of surveillance of malware all around the world. They're even, developing products which are used to hack places like Google and Microsoft. And now it's particularly worrying that many of their agents have basically gone poacher turned gamekeeper and have gone straight from Unit 8200 into these organizations. The problem is that there's really no evidence that they've turned over a new leaf and they're, whistleblowers or anything. They're proud of their experience. And so that really raises alarm bells for anybody who's a more sort of libertarian or just generally interested in free speech or privacy. This is the sort of thing that should only be happening in dystopic novels, but it's a very real thing right now.